I'll never forget the look on my mother's face when the judge asked me to stand up in that courtroom. It wasn't concern or love or even curiosity. It was calculation, cold hard calculation about how much money she thought I was hiding. "Your Honor," my father said, his voice dripping with false sincerity, "our daughter manipulated our father in his final years. She isolated him from his family and convinced him to leave everything to her. We're simply asking for what's rightfully ours." I stood there, 26 years old, wearing the only professional dress I owned, holding a folder that contained the truth about the last 3 years of my life. The judge, a stern-looking woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Chen, studied me over her glasses. "Miss Morrison, you'll have your chance to respond, but first I'd like to understand something." She paused, flipping through the documents before her. "According to these financial records, your grandfather left you his entire estate, a house valued at $400,000 and approximately $200,000 in savings and investments. Your parents are contesting this will, claiming undue influence. Before we proceed, I have one question." My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Yes, Your Honor?" "Why," Judge Chen asked slowly, "does every single bank statement show monthly transfers from your account to your grandfather's account for the past 3 years? Thousands of dollars, month after month. If you were manipulating him for his money, why were you giving him yours?" The courtroom went silent. My mother's face went pale. My father's confident posture crumbled, and I knew in that moment that the truth I'd been too tired and too heartbroken to fight for was finally going to come out. This is the story of how my grandfather's love saved me, even after he was gone, and how greed showed me exactly who my parents really were. My name is Sophie Morrison, and until 3 years ago, I thought I had a normal, if somewhat distant, family. My parents, Richard and Catherine Morrison, were both successful real estate agents who'd built a comfortable life in the suburbs. They drove nice cars, took annual vacations to Europe, and maintained the picture-perfect image of the American dream. I was their only child, and growing up, I'd always felt like I was more of an accessory to their lifestyle than a daughter they genuinely loved. But I had my grandfather. Thomas Morrison, Grandpa Tom to me, was my father's dad, a retired postal worker who lived in a modest 2-bedroom house on the edge of town. He was the kind of man who wore the same flannel shirts for 20 years, grew tomatoes in his backyard, and could fix anything with duct tape and determination. While my parents were busy climbing social ladders and impressing clients, Grandpa Tom was the one who came to my school plays, taught me to fish, and listened when I talked about my dreams. My parents had always treated Grandpa Tom with a strange mixture of obligation and disdain. They'd visit him on major holidays, usually staying less than an hour, and spent most of that time talking about themselves. My mother would complain about the dated decor in his house. My father would make comments about how Grandpa Tom should invest better or live a little with his savings. I didn't understand it then, but they saw him as a bank account with a heartbeat, not a person. 3 years ago, when I was 23, everything changed. I'd just graduated from college with a degree in graphic design and massive student loan debt. I was working 2 jobs, freelance design work during the day and waitressing at night, barely making ends meet in a tiny studio apartment. That's when I got the call from Grandpa Tom. "Sophie, honey," his voice had trembled over the phone. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. Your parents haven't visited in 4 months. Every time I call, they're too busy. Am I being a burden to them?" My heart had broken hearing the vulnerability in his voice. "Grandpa, no, you're never a burden. They're busy with work. You know how they are." "I know exactly how they are," he'd said quietly. "Sophie, I'm getting older. I'm 78 now, and things are getting harder. I can't drive at night anymore. Doctor appointments are confusing. The house needs repairs I can't do myself. I don't want to be a burden to anyone, but I'm wondering, would you consider moving in with me, just for a while? I could help with your rent, and you could help me with things around here." I'd said yes without hesitation, not because of money, but because Grandpa Tom was the only family member who'd ever made me feel truly loved. Within 2 weeks, I'd moved into his spare bedroom, transforming it into a combination bedroom and home office where I could do my design work. Living with Grandpa Tom revealed truths I'd never fully understood. His health was declining faster than he'd let on. He had diabetes that required careful management, early-stage Parkinson's that made his hands shake, and the beginning of memory issues that terrified him. He'd been hiding all of this from my parents because, as he confessed to me one night, they made it clear years ago that they didn't want to deal with an old man's problems. So I became his caregiver. I took him to doctor appointments, managed his medications, helped him with physical therapy exercises. I learned to cook diabetic-friendly meals, installed grab bars in the bathroom, organized his pills into weekly containers. My freelance work suffered because I couldn't take as many projects. I had to quit my waitressing job because I couldn't leave him alone at night. Money got tight. Really tight. My student loans were in forbearance, but bills kept coming. Grandpa Tom had his pension and Social Security, but it barely covered his medical expenses and property taxes. His savings, that mythical fortune my parents always talked about, didn't really exist. It had been depleted by my grandmother's cancer treatment years ago and his own mounting medical bills. So I did what I had to do. I took out a personal loan, started taking on design projects at below my normal rate just to get quick payment, and yes, I transferred money from my account to his account for thousands of dollars over 3 years, to keep the electricity on, to pay for medications insurance didn't cover, to fix the water heater when it broke, to keep the house from falling apart around us. I never told my parents. They visited maybe 4 times in those 3 years, always with excuses about being busy, always staying less than 30 minutes. They never asked how Grandpa Tom was really doing, never noticed the medical equipment in the house, never wondered who was taking care of him. About 8 months before Grandpa Tom died, I called him into the living room one evening. He had papers spread out on the coffee table and a serious expression on his face. "Sophie, honey, we need to talk about something important. I've updated my will. Grandpa, we don't need to talk about this." "Yes, we do. You need to know that I'm leaving everything to you. The house, my savings, everything. Your father is already provided for. He has his business, his own house, his life. But you've put your life on hold to take care of me. You've sacrificed your career, your social life, your future. This is the least I can do." "I didn't do any of this for money," I protested, tears in my eyes. "I know that," he said gently. "That's exactly why you're the one who deserves it. Your parents will be angry, Sophie. They'll fight this. But I need you to promise me something. Promise me you won't let them bully you. Promise me you'll stand up for yourself. You're stronger than you know." I promised, not really believing it would matter. Grandpa Tom passed away peacefully in his sleep on a Tuesday morning. I'd found him when I went to wake him for breakfast, and my world had shattered. The man who'd been my anchor, my safe place, my real family, was gone. The funeral was the first time I'd seen my parents show any real emotion about Grandpa Tom, and even that felt performative. My mother sobbed dramatically while my father gave a eulogy about what a wonderful father Grandpa Tom had been, conveniently forgetting the years of neglect. But I noticed the way they kept glancing at each other during the service, the whispered conversations, the calculating looks. The bomb dropped 3 days after the funeral. I was at Grandpa Tom's house, my house now, according to his will, sorting through his things and crying over old photographs when my parents showed up unannounced. "We need to talk about the house," my father said without preamble, not even asking how I was doing, "and Dad's finances." "The lawyer already read the will," I said quietly. "Everything was left to me." "That's what we need to discuss," my mother said, her voice sharp. "Sophie, we know you manipulated him. An old man with memory problems, completely dependent on you. You isolated him from his family and convinced him to change his will." I stared at them in disbelief. "Isolated him? You visited 4 times in 3 years. You never called. You abandoned him." "We were busy," my father snapped. "We had businesses to run. We couldn't drop everything to play caretaker like you did. And frankly, Sophie, we think you had ulterior motives. You moved in with him right when you were drowning in debt. Very convenient. I moved in because he needed help and you wouldn't provide it." "The house alone is worth $400,000, my mother said as if I hadn't spoken, plus whatever savings he had. "That's our inheritance, Sophie. That's your father's inheritance from his father. You have no right to it." "Grandpa Tom had every right to leave his estate to whoever he wanted," I said, my voice shaking, "and he chose to leave it to me because I was the only one who cared about him as a person, not a bank account." "We'll see what a judge has to say about that," my father said coldly. "We're contesting the will. We'll prove you manipulated him, that he wasn't in his right mind, that you exercised undue influence. And Sophie, we will win. You don't have the money to fight us." They left, and I collapsed on Grandpa Tom's couch, sobbing. They were right about one thing. I didn't have money for a lawyer. I'd spent every penny I had keeping Grandpa Tom comfortable in his final years. 2 weeks later, I was served with legal papers. My parents were suing me, claiming undue influence, alleging that I'd manipulated a vulnerable, elderly man, demanding the entire estate be divided according to intestate succession laws that would give them everything. I found a lawyer who agreed to take my case pro bono after hearing my story, a young attorney named James Rodriguez who specialized in elder law. "Sophie, I'm not going to lie to you," James said after reviewing everything. "These cases are hard to win for the person defending the will. Courts are suspicious of caregivers who inherit, especially when family members contest it. But you have something most defendants don't: documentation. Every bank transfer, every medical bill you paid, every receipt. We need to tell your story, and we need to tell it completely." The court date arrived on a cold January morning, exactly 4 months after Grandpa Tom's death. I walked into that courtroom feeling sick with anxiety, wearing a dress I'd borrowed from a friend because I couldn't afford to buy one. My parents sat on the other side with their expensive lawyer, looking confident and righteous. Judge Patricia Chen presided, a woman with a reputation for being tough but fair. She listened as my parents' lawyer painted me as a manipulative opportunist who'd preyed on a vulnerable old man. They presented evidence of Grandpa Tom's declining mental state, conveniently ignoring that his memory issues were mild and he'd been declared mentally competent by multiple doctors. They claimed I isolated him, denied them access, poisoned him against his own son. "Your Honor," their lawyer concluded, "this is a clear case of elder abuse and undue influence. Sophie Morrison saw an opportunity and exploited it. Justice demands the will be set aside." Then it was our turn. James stood up and, instead of launching into arguments, he simply asked Judge Chen if she would review the financial exhibits he was submitting. The judge took her time, flipping through page after page of bank statements, receipts, bills. That's when she asked the question that changed everything. "Why does every single bank statement show monthly transfers from your account to your grandfather's account? If you were manipulating him for his money, why were you giving him yours?" James presented everything. 3 years of financial records showing I'd transferred over $40,000 of my own money to keep Grandpa Khan's household running, medical bills I'd paid, receipts for medications, home repairs, groceries, documentation that my parents had contributed nothing, not a single dollar, to their father's care. "Your Honor," James said quietly, "Sophie Morrison didn't take advantage of her grandfather. She sacrificed her career, her savings, and her future to give him dignity in his final years. Thomas Morrison left his estate to her because she earned it with love and service." Then James played his final card, a video Grandpa Tom recorded 6 months before his death, with his lawyer present to verify his mental competence. On the screen, Grandpa Tom sat in his living room, looking directly at the camera. "My name is Thomas Morrison, and I'm making this recording to explain my final wishes. My son Richard and his wife Catherine haven't been part of my life for years. They visit occasionally out of obligation, but they've made it clear that I'm a burden to them. My granddaughter Sophie is the only family I have who loves me for who I am, not what I have. She's given up her life to take care of me. She's paid my bills when I couldn't. She's sat with me through medical scares. She's made me laugh when I was scared. She's the daughter I wish I'd had. Everything I have, I leave it to her, because she earned it with love and service. And to my son, if you're contesting this will, know that I made this decision with a clear mind and a full heart. Sophie didn't manipulate me, you abandoned me. That's the difference. The courtroom was silent. I was crying, seeing Grandpa Tom's face again, hearing his voice. My mother was pale. My father was staring at the table. Judge Chen watched the entire video, then turned to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, I've reviewed all the evidence. Your daughter didn't isolate your father. You abandoned him. She didn't manipulate him. She cared for him. She didn't steal from him. She gave him everything she had. This will was made by a competent adult who clearly understood his choices. The petition to contest is denied. My parents' lawyer tried to argue, but Judge Chen cut him off. I'm not finished, Mr. and Mrs. Morrison. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your daughter did what you should have done, and instead of thanking her, you're suing her. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Miss Morrison, the estate remains yours as your grandfather intended. As we left the courtroom, my parents tried to approach me. Sophie, wait, my father said. We can work this out. Maybe we overreacted. No, I said firmly, remembering my promise to Grandpa Tom. You didn't overreact. You showed me exactly who you are. Grandpa Tom was right about everything. You're really going to choose money over your family? My mother asked, her voice bitter. I'm not choosing money over family, I replied. I'm choosing the family member who actually loved me over the ones who only love what they think they're entitled to. There's a difference. I walked away from them that day and never looked back. The next few months were strange and bittersweet. I moved permanently into Grandpa Tom's house, my house now. I used part of the inheritance to pay off my student loans and invest in my graphic design business. I turned Grandpa Tom's bedroom into an office, keeping his flannel shirts in the closet because I wasn't ready to let go completely. I planted tomatoes in the backyard, the way he'd taught me. My parents tried reaching out a few times, but their messages made it clear they were more interested in reconciliation that came with financial benefits than genuine apology. I didn't respond. Some relationships, I learned, aren't worth saving, but I found new family. James, my lawyer, became a good friend. The neighbors who'd watched me care for Grandpa Tom became a support system. I started volunteering at a senior center, helping other elderly people whose families had forgotten them. And slowly, I healed. It's been 2 years since that courtroom day. I'm sitting in the backyard of the house Grandpa Tom left me, watching the tomatoes grow, and I finally understand what his gift really was. It wasn't the house or the money, it was validation, proof that my love and sacrifice mattered, confirmation that I'd done the right thing, even when it was hard. My parents taught me what family shouldn't be: transactional, conditional, selfish. But Grandpa Tom taught me what it could be: generous, grateful, genuine. He gave me more than an inheritance. He gave me the strength to stand up for myself, to recognize my worth, to walk away from people who only valued me for what I could give them. Judge Chen gave me justice, but Grandpa Tom gave me something better. He gave me peace. I learned that real family isn't about blood or obligation, it's about showing up, about sacrifice, about love that doesn't come with conditions or calculations. My parents saw an inheritance, Grandpa Tom saw a legacy, and the legacy he left me wasn't money, it was the knowledge that I was enough, exactly as I was, and that my love had mattered to someone who truly saw me. Sometimes the people who deserve our inheritance aren't the ones who share our last name. They're the ones who share our burdens, our laughter, our ordinary moments. They're the ones who show up. I showed up for Grandpa Tom when no one else would, and in return, he showed me what it means to be truly loved. That's an inheritance worth more than any house, any bank account, any material thing. And unlike money, it's something that can never be taken away, no matter how many lawsuits someone files. Grandpa Tom is gone, but his love remains, and that, I've learned, is the only inheritance that really matters.